Welcome to Exoneration Nation podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Scott. And today we have a sensational judge, Dallas County Criminal Court 11 Judge Shaquita Kelly. Shaquita, did I say it
You
right?
did.
I'm glad I said it right. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I can't complain. I'm honored to have you here. I remember first meeting you at I think it was a fundraiser. All of y'all came to, and I was so amazed to see so many African American female judges that was running or that was already in office. It meant a lot because when I was wrongfully convicted, we didn't see that color in the courtroom. We didn't see that type of diversity in the courtroom. So when I saw all of y'all come together at the fundraiser, it really made me feel good that things had, finally started changing for the best.
Yes.
So I have questions
All right.
that I want to ask you. What program do you have that you serve in the community?
Okay. The first one that comes to mind is Pipeline to Possibilities. And that is a program that I have with 5 other judges now. It was just 4 of us, and
Right.
it's grown. And
Right.
so now there are 6 black female judges, 3 felony judges, and 3 misdemeanor judges. But the purpose of this program is to give back to our community and educate the community, encourage and motivate the young people in the community
Right.
so that we won't see them in front of us. Because what we noticed was we were seeing a lot of young offenders in front of us based on just bad decisions
Right.
and lack of knowledge.
Right.
And so we created this program where instead of the pipeline to prison, we changed it to the pipeline to all the amazing possibilities that are out there.
That's
right?
I like that. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Because I think sometimes, now I was raised in a single family home.
Right.
There was drugs in my home environment.
Right.
At that age, I didn't see all the possibilities. I just saw the struggles that I was
Right.
going through right then and there. I used to be there.
Right.
And I'm a judge.
Right.
Your possibilities are unlimited.
Right.
You can do anything.
Anything you want
Oh
to.
my goodness. And so that's one of my programs that is really dear to me because we're getting these young adults before they lose hope.
Right.
And what we know before we started this program, we learned that South Dallas, I think it's 75201 is the area code,
Right.
has the highest rate of offenders that come out of that area. And typically they're dropping out of high school.
Right.
And so we decided, well, let's just go to that area
Right.
and let them see like there's so much more they could be doing instead of dropping out of high school and then later
Right.
getting incarcerated.
Right.
And when they see us, they're like, y'all judges?
Right.
Wait. You a judge too? You a judge? And we're like, we're all judges.
It surprises them because it's hard for them to relate to like seeing other African American women in this position.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm glad that y'all doing what y'all doing and must continue to success
Yes.
on showing the younger generations what they can be
I
because
really-
because the possibilities are there.
And I really feel like being a judge means more than just sitting on the bench.
Right.
You aren't totally fulfilling your duties that you're elected to do if all you do is just sit on the bench.
Right.
Because my goal is to stop people from coming before me.
Right. Right.
And so in order to do that, you got to get them before they get there.
Right. For sure. It's kind of like prevention.
Yes.
Prevention zone. Yeah, I like that for sure.
So that's like one of my, it's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's a lot of work, but that is my baby. I love that organization. I see so much growth, and we have these young adults. I have to pause because I always want to say kids. And I
Right.
don't, they don't want to be
Right.
called a kid.
Right.
But young adults that come up to us and they're like, you know what? I think I might want to be a judge too one day.
Right.
And the teachers tell us, we've had students that don't show up for class. All of a sudden, they showing up when they know y'all coming.
Right.
And things are changing. So it goes to show that if you just pour into some people just a little bit,
Right.
you can make a huge
Right.
difference.
For sure.
So we've been doing that since 2016. It's gone from this small little idea to
Right.
this amazing big
Right.
thing, and it's
Right.
blessed so many people. So that's one of the projects that are programs that I have. But one that is also near and dear to me is called Intercepted.
Right.
And that is a program. My court is all domestic violence offenders. It's a specialized court. So I deal with people who have a lot of mental health issues, substance abuse issues, anger. And I always say that they are roses in concrete, like Tupac, right? And I just believe that I need to be the one to give them something to be proud of. And so my program, Intercepted, is designed just for those first-time young offenders who have done something stupid and need a second chance. I make them, if they have mental health issues, they have to deal with those mental health issues. A lot of them, because in our community, well, I should say in my courtroom, 79% of the offenders are male minorities. That means it's us.
Right.
We don't, and we I call it like black ice, because we can't see the problem until we are already in trouble.
Right.
And our community is suffering greatly from domestic violence. We don't like to tell. We was all raised, stay in your business. What goes on this house, stay in this house, right? But that's killing us. That's causing some really deep-rooted issues. And so I created this program where it's one-on-one treatment, and you really have to look within yourself and say, okay, what do I need to do to grow?
Right.
What do I need to be a better person, the best version of myself?
Right.
And then Judge Kelly forces you to be that person. And sometimes that means just getting a GED, getting your driver's license. You would be amazed how many people get so excited about a driver's license. They're like, I got it, Judge. I got it. And that hope, now they're like, I'm not risking my driver's license and getting in trouble. I'm not doing this.
It's always giving something to look forward to.
Yes. And I feel like a lot of people, if you just give them some encouragement and some motivation and say, I see greatness in you.
Right.
That can change.
That's all they need to hear. They just need to hear somebody give them some kind of encouraging word that they see that's already doing positive things.
Yep. And so for someone like me to say that, because they look up, I mean, I don't see myself as this huge, big deal. But the offender standing in front of me, they're shaking in their boots.
Right.
They're so scared.
Right.
And when I say, I see greatness in you, they're like,
whole mentality
changes. Stand up, sir.
Right.
Why you slouching? Stand up. Look at me in my eye. Talk to me.
Right.
And then they come in, and the next time they see me, they're okay.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Judge. I did this. I did that.
Right.
But you can't just rubber stamp these people.
Right.
You got to take your time and pull back the layers and see what is the problem. And if we really want to end domestic violence or curb domestic violence or curb crime, you really can't just stand up. You can't sit there and just say, next, accept the plea. There's been so many pleas I will not accept. I'm like, no.
See, I like that. See, because majority of the time people, I guess I would say defense attorneys or court-appointed attorneys, the first thing they want is you to cop a plea. Not trying to fight for you. Like, what can we get? What kind of plea bargain can we get today?
What's the best deal I can get?
What's the best deal I can get? And it's good that, you don't accept our pleas.
No, I don't, because, well, first of all, a lot of offenders like to just plead because they want to get out of jail.
Right.
So that just give me my back time. I just want to get out. And I have to stop them. I say, you do realize that this could stop you from being the sole conservator parent of your child.
Right.
Do you have children? Yeah. So if something happens to the mother of your child, you're not going to get full custody. It's going to go to somebody else. Have you thought about that before you accept this plea? Nah, Judge, I just want to accept it. Do you understand that you'll never be able to be in the military, medical field, teacher? No one wants a domestic violence offender.
Right.
You understand you're going to struggle with housing for the rest of your life? No. Okay, I'm not going to accept this plea because I want you to think about this. And I want you to talk to your attorney again. And then when you come back, I want you to tell me why you want to plead, if you're ready.
Right.
And a lot of times they'll be like, I want to plead because I did it. Right?
Right.
I did it, Judge.
Right.
I want to take responsibility. And then sometimes they'll be like, no, I want a trial. I want to fight this. And I feel like everybody has a right to that.
Right.
This is your life. And I always say, because sir or ma'am, when it's all over and done with, your lawyer's going home to his family.
Right.
And I'm going home to mine.
Right.
And so is this prosecutor.
Right.
And you're going to be left with this.
Right.
And they
think about it twice.
Because I want someone to talk to me about that if I don't know something. When you go to the doctor and they saying all these medical terms, you're like, wait, now what?
Yeah, you went over my head
Break
with that
it
one.
down
Break it
for
down
me.
to the lowest common denominator.
Yes.
Right.
And that's how I treat every single offender. Whether they are a domestic violence offender or not, they still have a right to understand what's happening.
Right.
And if you did it and you want to take responsibility, you take responsibility. And I'm going to make sure that you take responsibility. Right? But if you want to fight it, let's go.
Right.
That's what the justice system is supposed to be about.
Right. Good versus bad of being a judge.
Definitely the good thing is that you can elicit change
Right.
in individual people's lives.
Right.
Right. I have stopped a gentleman from selling drugs. He stood in front of me and he was clean. He had Jordans on. He had True Religion jeans on.
Oh,
I mean,
right.
this dude was clean. And I said something about taking some classes. And he said, I can't afford that, Judge. And I said, well, what you have on, you can afford it. I said, I know how much all that costs. And so he put his head down. I said, are you working? He was like, no, I don't have a job. I said, oh, you got a job. I said, you selling drugs? And he put his head down. I said, hold on, off the record. I said, tell me the truth. I want you to just talk to me.
Right.
He said, yeah. I said, well, after today, you're not, because you're about to make an agreement with me that you're going to stop. And we went back and forth. He said, I got a son. And I said, your son needs you not to be in jail.
Wow.
Right? So he ends up quitting, but I didn't believe it at first, right? I didn't believe that he quit. I thought he was just going to sell me something, tell
Right.
me whatever.
Right.
And I had my coordinator call him to tell him to come to court to check in because I want to know if he's still selling drugs. The phone was disconnected. And so
He can't pay bills.
now, a drug dealer got to have their phone on,
Gotta
right?
have
That's
their
the one
phone.
thing.
Oh, my God.
And so finally, when we got him to come to court, he shows up. He had on a regular white T-shirt, some jeans. And I said, I've been trying to call you. Why haven't you shown up? He said, you told me to stop selling drugs. He was like, I didn't have a phone. He was like, my phone got cut off, Judge. And he a little irritated with me. And I said, oh, so you really not selling? He's like, I'm not selling. I work at McDonald's. You want my boss number right now? He gave me the number. We called. He worked at McDonald's.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, I had the power to take him from selling drugs to now he's working at McDonald's. And it's not a great job, but it's an honest job.
Right.
And he came back and he was like, yeah, I'm getting promoted to manager. And it was just like, that's the good thing about being a judge, is that you really can change a person's life for the rest of their life.
Right.
Imagine what he's going to do for his son.
Right.
He's changing. I'm changing the trajectory of his life and his son's life,
Right.
and maybe his grandson. Who knows?
Right.
So I love that. I wake up every morning just excited about the fact that I have the power to make a positive difference. Wow. Now then there's the bad.
Right.
The bad part about my job, honestly, is the racism. Being a black female judge.
But I want to ask you a question about that, because I've had several men judges, come to me and say, hey, I didn't want to run for my next term because I was running against an African-American judge. How does that make y'all feel when you hear people tell y'all that?
I don't like that, because no one was saying that when the benches were full of white men.
Right.
That was never a discussion.
Right.
Oh, I got all these white male judges on the bench. No one ever said that. But now it's all these black women on the bench. And even our own people say that.
Right.
It's not just
Right.
the white people that are saying this, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it's not that we're not qualified. We are qualified. We are competent. We are passionate. We are making changes.
Right.
So you would think you would want this. But there's still somebody there that says, I don't listen to that black girl.
Right.
I'm not going to listen to what she say. I'm not going to respect this courtroom. She don't tell me what to do. And you see it in their demeanor. You hear it in the way they respond to your orders. There's been so many times where I've had to say, sir, I'm the judge of this courtroom.
Right.
And I'm going to point your attention to those canons that all lawyers have to abide by, whether or not they like the judge.
Right.
And that's basically telling them, hey, I'm not playing this game with you.
Right.
I'm not going to discriminate. I'm not going to disservice your client. I just expect respect.
Right.
And you see it in the way they respond to the black female judges versus our counterparts, the white male judges or the white female judges. You see the difference. It's blatant. And I'm not from Dallas. I'm from Indiana.
Right.
And where I feel like in Indiana, it was under the cover.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't really notice it. It wasn't in your face.
Right.
And here it's more in your face.
Oh, yeah, in Texas, for sure.
Oh, and it's so difficult because I know that the people who are racist are looking for any opportunity to grieve me and get my license snatched.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so I can't be Shaquita I'm from the hood.
Right.
Okay. I can't be Shaquita from the hood and
Right.
tell you what I really want to tell you.
Right.
I have to be Judge Kelly, judicial Shaquita, and I have to work 10 times as harder.
Right.
And I got to explain everything I do.
Right.
And it becomes tiring. And so it's a beat down. It is a constant beat down that you can't just show up to work and be treated like the person next door to you. Merely because you're a black female. Where I come from, I had never seen a black lawyer.
Right.
Okay.
Wow.
So I didn't have any black black role models in my community were preachers.
Right.
And I had one black teacher, my kindergarten teacher.
Wow.
So it was different for me to come here and there's all this great blackness, right?
Right.
So I was soaking it all in, but I knew I wanted to run for judge.
Right.
I knew I was qualified.
Right.
I just didn't know what I needed to do.
Right.
And I went to a particular gentleman's fundraiser, white male, and the photographer was black. He was the only person I knew in the room.
Wow.
And so I was like, you walk in those environments and I already don't know what I'm doing. So I don't know if I'm supposed to quite be here.
Right.
So I'm trying to just kind of relax and small talk with someone. And I see him. So I beeline over to him. And I'm like, well, I'm going to talk to him, right? He goes, hey, how you doing, Shaquita? I said, hey. He says, let me get your picture with the judge. And so the judge is walking by while he says that. He says, hey, judge, let me take a picture with her. And he said, go try to barbecue.
Oh, wow.
That's what this man said to me in a room full of white people.
Go try to barbecue.
Yeah, and walked away. And then after he walked away, he went over to another group of individuals and he flagged the photographer. The photographer has his camera up to his face.
Right.
And the judge just walks away. So he lowers and he goes, I'm sorry. And so the judge flags him over, waves him over, and then he takes a picture with a white female.
Oh, wow.
And I walked out. I went to the bathroom and I cried. And then I left.
Right.
Because that had never happened to me before. And so later I found out he told, because of course I went and I told people, right? I'm like, this man's racist. And he said this to me.
Right.
And so he said, oh, I just thought she was running. I saw she had a tag on her shirt. I thought she was running against one of my buddies because she's a black woman.
Wow.
I wasn't running against, the seat I was running for was empty.
Right.
So you just assume, because I was a black female and you denied me a picture and told me to go try to barbecue. Now, how discriminatory is that?
It's very discriminatory because it's like the Arbery trial. Same thing. You're trying to tell a person where he can go, where he can't go in communities that's open to anybody. But you telling me some of the fact that I'm a guy of color, I don't supposed to be in your neighborhood. That's not right. That's wrong. And for him to say that, that's crazy. That's absurd for him to say something like that.
I thought, as naive as I was, I guess, that my credentials meant something.
Right.
I prosecuted for 13 years.
Right.
I know the law.
Right.
I have 3 degrees. And so there's no reason why I shouldn't be on this bench.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
And I thought that meant something. But honestly, it kind of reminds me of Jay-Z's song, O.J. Simpson. And he says, no matter what color you are, no matter how much money you make, you still the N-word.
Right. At the end of the day.
And that is how I felt at that fundraiser after he said that to me.
Wow.
I thought, my intelligence doesn't mean anything in this room. It's just about my color.
Right. That's sad. Another question for you. What are the biggest differences between the justice system in Indiana versus Texas?
Well, one of the big differences is that the jurors here in Texas decide punishment. And honestly, I kind of like it. I like the fact that one person doesn't control your fate.
Right.
And it makes me think about, I had this trial in Indiana. It was a drug case. The drug dealer was like 24 years old. First time offense. And he had taught his son, who was 10, how to make the drugs.
Wow.
That was pretty bad, right? But he was a first time offender, okay?
Right.
And his dad taught him. So this was a legacy
generation thing.
Yes, right? The judge gave this 24-year-old first time offender, drug dealer, and he had some heavy weight on him. He gave him 45 years.
First offense.
45 years?
Wow.
for a learned behavior, yeah, he made a choice. He did.
Right.
But possibly if we had just given him some probation, and in
Right.
Indiana, you can do jail time and then probation.
Right.
So if you wanted to sting him a little bit, maybe you should have given him a little jail time and then put him on this long probation.
Right.
And then if he messes up, send him to jail.
Right.
But you just throw him away like that? And that's what makes me think maybe Texas is onto something with the jurors being able to assess punishment.
Right.
Because when I tried a case here in Texas, and what I've learned is that older jurors realize 45 years is a long time.
It's a long time.
Right?
Seriously.
These millennials don't, right?
No,
They be like, give them life. You're like, wait a
right.
minute.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I was thinking, that's probably a good thing to have. Let your peers.
Right.
Now, we just got to show up for trial.
Right, exactly. See, that's the whole thing when we say juries are our peers. When your peers don't want to be on a jury panel, for one, what do we do? And then secondly, we know how juries be picked, chose, zip codes.
Mm-hmm.
So do you feel like that's something we have to change in
Well, I mean, this is the thing. Honestly, I've seen people from South Dallas
Right.
that will show up for trial and make up something that ain't even true
Right,
just to get out of it. And so one thing that we do in Pipeline of Possibilities, see, we're breeding a new generation that's educated about the law.
Right,
We
right.
talk to them about
Right.
Trayvon Martin
Right,
and that jury.
right,
And we express to them the importance of staying on the jury.
Right.
And they get it at an
Right.
earlier age.
right,
I think the more, now that we have more black female judges, we talk about it everywhere we go. Y'all need to
Supposed to.
serve.
right,
Y'all need to, because you frustrated with the system, then
Right.
get your butt on the
Right,
panel,
right.
right? And so now they're showing up,
mm-hmm.
but they also are saying stuff that is messing them, getting them kicked off too. And so sometimes I'll say, let's say the juror will say, well, I don't like cops.
right,
And the defense is going to say, well, I want him struck because he doesn't like cops. And there's,
Right.
there's cops that are going to testify.
right,
I'll call that juror up and I'll say, if I tell you that the law says that you have to listen to him as fairly as the next person,
Right.
can you do that?
right,
And they look at me and I'm like, you better not even lie because I know you can.
Right.
And then they're like, yes, Judge, I can.
Right.
And so, and I know that a couple of judges do that.
In Dallas County, women outnumber men on the bench. This is unusual because male judges outnumber female judges 2-1 statewide. What do you feel is the reason the number is higher of women's on the bench?
I think the present is female, not the future.
Right,
Women are owning more businesses. Women, we're just kicking butt all around.
right, for sure, for sure. I'm looking at probably be looking at the next, president of the United States. That's an African American female. We got a vice president already, so who's
Yeah,
to
we're
say?
just taking charge. And I just think that minority women especially are now known as one of the most successful minority groups in the country. We are stepping in the shoes and taking on the responsibility, and we're not having that fear.
Right,
We're just saying, let's go, because our ancestors deserve this.
right, for sure.
Our ancestors
Yeah.
worked hard for this,
Yeah, they
to
did.
pave this way.
Right.
So we're not going to drop the torch.
Right,
Let's go.
got to keep the torch going. Got
That's
to keep
what
it burning.
is. And so that's why you see all these women coming out
Right.
of woodwork. Now they're
Right.
getting big CEOs
Right.
and the head over the Mavericks.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
here we are.
Yeah.
Hear us roar.
We have arrived.
We have arrived.
For sure. So, have you found it easier to work with majority of female judges?
I can't say there hasn't been a lot of males in the misdemeanor courts, the
Right.
county courts. We've only
Right.
had 2, and they're both very laid back. Well, now there's only 1.
Right.
He's outnumbered. So
For
there
sure.
are 12 women and 1 man.
There has been a lot of controversy regarding shaken baby syndrome, which has now been scientifically debunked. In your experience as prosecuting child abuse, did you ever encounter a shaken baby syndrome case? If so, what was the outcome?
So the caseload I had was typically sexual assault to a child under 6 or capital murder
Right.
to babies. and I think I may have had one burn baby case.
Wow.
But luckily, I did not have a shaken baby case that was mine, where I was the first chair. And I've sat around a table and we've discussed those cases. And I guess I should stand corrected. I had a case that was a shaken baby case, but was not labeled as that.
Right.
Mother took a 3-month-old and shook the baby and then hit his head on the counter,
Wow.
caused permanent brain damage. And so I can't say that it's been debunked. Shaking a baby has definitely led to many instances of death and or long-term side effects. The baby that I'm talking about
Right.
just cried uncontrollably. And, you look at the x-ray and it's just a crack in the skull all the way down the back of the
Wow.
head. And then there's foster parents that deal specifically with children with disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And they are angels from heaven, because this little baby, being shook caused him to not have his brain did not function on normal hours. So his daytime is your night.
Wow.
So, and he had no pulse control, so that he would cry nonstop, screaming. And when I brought him into trial, he was probably about 2 by the time we went to trial. Still couldn't see out of one eye, couldn't talk, and would just scream nonstop.
Wow.
Because he has no control, and he wasn't crying. He would just scream.
Right.
And so I've seen the traumatic effects of shaking a baby. Of course, this one was also, his head was also struck on the kitchen counter. But those are difficult cases. It's difficult
sure.
because you know that this parent did something.
Right, to
but
this baby.
Doctors know now that they can't testify in that way to help you prove the case. So there's like with this case, they could not say this is a shaken baby case. They had to just talk about the blunt force trauma.
Right.
And she said that she shook the baby. So that was we were able to put that in, but they wouldn't say that the injuries came specifically from being shaken.
Right. So I got a couple of more questions for you. Proposal to reduce probation or fines for offenders to turn in their guns.
You're talking about my Bring 'em Back program.
Right.
And what I learned with domestic violence offenders and felons, you cannot have a handgun. But I was asking the same question to every gentleman or female that pled guilty. Hey, do you have any handguns, firearms, or ammunition? Because by law, you're not allowed to have them now that you have this conviction.
Right.
No, I don't have them. And I'm like, now I know out of all these people I'm asking this every single day, 10 times a day, and
Right.
everybody's saying no. I would get like 2 people a year. I'm getting
yes.
2 guns a year. Okay. If that.
Wow.
And so I started thinking there's got to be a way, because why would they just turn it in?
Right.
Why would you give up that you paid for, or that's,
Right.
you got from somebody? Why you gonna give it up?
Right.
So I created this program where if you give up your handgun, I'm going to take care of your court costs. You're not going to do community service. And that fine that they smacked on, I'm going to waive that too. And so that was like, and so what I noticed, if I asked them about the handguns before I told them about the program, they would say no to the handguns. But then they learn about the program. They'd be like, well, yeah, I think like my dad has one. Can I use my dad? There it is. And so I went from getting 1, maybe 2 a year to like 10 to 12 a year.
Oh, wow.
And then COVID hit.
Wow.
And so COVID put a halt to it, but I made it so it was safe for them. They could take them to a church and they would meet a police officer in the church parking lot.
Right.
They could take it to their church if their church was on the list.
Right.
They could take it to the parking lot of the police department, because some people, especially illegal citizens, they're afraid of police.
Right.
And so they don't want to do that. They don't want to go to a police
Right.
station.
For sure.
So, hey, you want to show up to a church? Show up to your pastor and tell your pastor you're coming, and stay in your car, and they wouldn't even get out of their car. Pop your trunk. The officer's going to take it from out of the trunk. He's going to give you a receipt.
Right.
You're going to bring that receipt to me, and I'm going to pay you for it. And so it was like a win-win situation.
I know. It's a win-win. Like, it's crazy how when I was wrongfully convicted, it was just about lock them up, throw away the key, and don't worry about no second chances at life or anything of that nature. But seeing what y'all have going on, it's an inspiration to people in the community, saying that we do actually have people in the court building that cares. These judges care about us. So what we got to do is do the right thing for them, because they gave us this second chance. Let's not make them look bad. Let's do all we can to, get out here and just live a normal life like everybody else, because it's not fun being incarcerated. It's not fun having your freedom taken away. Freedom is the most best asset that a person can ever have, is your freedom. Without freedom, you don't have anything. I'm going to give one more question to you, then I'll let you go.
I'm glad you said that about making us look bad, because I always tell when offenders are asking me to give them a PR bond, because they get out without having to pay anything.
Right.
And I'm like, why? Well, Judge, I promise if you just do it and I won't get any more trouble, I'm going to show up. I'm like, all right, I'm going to give you this PR bond, but don't make a fool out of me.
Right.
Don't make a fool out of me.
If you was talking to a group of young ladies right now, what would be your message to them?
Forget what people saying. Forget what people saying about you. Show up every day the best person that you can be. Put on the best that you can be. And go after your dreams. They don't have to be dreams. They could be checked off goals.
Right.
There's no limits. And don't be afraid. I have a lot of mentees, and I always say, some people live with their fear here, and you can't see anything, and you can't even be heard, and you can't be seen.
Right.
You have to bring your fear first to the side, so at least you can see, and then get it out your peripheral and put it behind you.
Right.
And so if you ever see girls going like this, they got that from me.
Okay.
I say, move that fear out the way.
Get them blinders off.
They got to go. And be your best self. A lot of us don't put our 100% in. We just show up.
Right.
No, show up your best self, because that's when you're going to get the best out of life.
Right.
So show up your best self, reach for the skies, and let's not have just dreams. Let's have goals that we've checked off.
Right. Well, I want to thank you again for giving us some of your time and your expertise. And I'm quite sure it's a lot of young ladies in the world or in Dallas County that looks up to you and appreciate you for what you're doing. So thanks again.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.